What a fantastic weekend in the NFL on this Sunday that we had. I have the latest playoff picture for you. We saw two great games out of the Pac-12 in college football. I have the wrap-ups of both those games. And what a Sunday we had in college basketball in the men's and the women's division, in the men's and women's in college basketball on this Sunday. I have a lot of that tonight, and for my closing thoughts, I'll be making a special announcement at the end. And we will start the show right after this. And a pleasant good evening here, everybody. It is now almost a quarter of midnight here on the East Coast of the United States. But what a weekend we had in the sports world. And what a game that you just saw between the Chargers and the Chiefs. Let's get right into the show. We got a lot to talk about tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the LA Chargers 30-27 tonight in a big game, in a big victory here on this Sunday night. Patrick Mahomes, 20-34, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns. What a night for him. Travis Kelce, 6 catches, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns of his own. But the defense was the story for the Chiefs. Chris Jones, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss tonight. Mike Dana, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss for him tonight. A big night for the Chiefs D. While on the other side for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 23-30, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a very costly interception at the end of the game. Austin Eckler, 19 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Joshua Palmer, 8 catches, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Derwin James Jr., 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss tonight. He had the only sack for the Chargers in this game tonight. Typical LAKC battle. The Chiefs now have the best record in the AFC. And what a night it was for the Kansas City Chiefs. They got the job done. I mean, 485 yards total offense for the Chiefs tonight. They outrushed the LA Chargers 163-115. And think about this for a second. Isaiah Palmer of the Chiefs, he had 107 yards rushing all by himself. The Chargers only had 115 by himself, and Eckler had 83 of those. A big win for the Chiefs, and now they have the best record in the AFC at 8-2. Everybody else is 7-3, and I'm going to address the playoff picture in just a minute. So stay tuned for that. A big win for the Chiefs. Now they don't have to worry about the tiebreaker against the Bills. And that's just all there is to it at this moment. You know, the 425 game, the big game was slated to be Dallas and Minnesota. That game turned out to be a flop. The nation was all whining and crying about it. But, and I admit, however, I will say this real quick. I was disappointed I didn't get to see Dallas and Minnesota. But going into the game, the Cowboys just dominated the Vikings. So you know what? I didn't mind missing that game one bit. But the rest of the nation tuned in later to see the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 37-30. on this Sunday afternoon. Unfortunately, Joe Mixon missed the second half of this ball game due to concussion protocol after he suffered a concussion early in the game. But Joe Burrow, 24, 39, 355 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was picked off twice. T. Higgins, he stepped up. 9 catches, 148 yards. And that's all he needed. Sanjay Pirani, 82 yards of offense, and he had 3 touchdowns in the game. If I mispronounced your name, I do apologize in advance. But Trey Hendrickson, 2 sacks, 2 big tackles for loss on the road in Pittsburgh, in enemy territory. That speaks a lot right there. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kenny Pickett from the Pitt Panthers, I should say, 25 of 42, 265 yards, and he had a touchdown in the game. Najee Harris, 116 yards of offense on his own. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. George Pickens, 4 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. He got ejected from the game with just a few seconds left for some unnecessary roughness. But Cameron Hayward, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss in the ball game. This was your typical Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. 2 teams that absolutely do not like each other at all. The Bengals won this game despite committing 2 turnovers, both of them interceptions by Joe Burrow. But the Bengal defense stepped up in the second half. I don't think the Steelers got over 100 yards offense in the second half of the game. I really don't. A big win for the Cincinnati Bengals as they try to give themselves a playoff spot. They're still sitting behind the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC North. It could be a Cincinnati-Baltimore type deal in the AFC North the way it looks right now. But at the end of the day, we can see a lot of things happen. A battle in the North, everybody knows what's going to be at stake. And I'll say this. It could come down to the final week of the season in the AFC North between Cincinnati and Baltimore. If it does happen, buckle your seatbelts, fans. We're gonna have some fireworks. And that's all I got to say about that. All right, let's move on. From 2 high-scoring affairs to the lowest-scoring affair of the day, and a game that had you scratching your head all the way to the end. The New England Patriots beat the New York Jets 10-3. A Marcus Jones 84-yard punt return for a touchdown with just a few seconds left is what sealed the deal. And what a victory it was for the Patriots. The entire AFC East has a shot at the playoffs. All 14 in the AFC East are above 500. I'm not kidding. But it was a defense that stepped up in this game today. But first, Mac Jones of New England, 23-27, 246 yards. He was near perfect in the passing department. He just couldn't put it in the end zone. Kyle Duggar, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss in the ball game. Matthew Judon, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss. Dietrich Wise Jr., 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Give these guys some love. But for the New York Jets, Zach Wilson, 9-22 for 77 yards. That was it. Quincy Williams, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Quinnen Williams, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Michael Clemens, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss in the ball game. Listen to these crazy stats for the Jets. 6 first downs, 103 yards total offense. I'm not joking. They had 59 yards rushing for the game. And they were 3 of 14 on 3rd down today. New England, 13 first downs, 297 yards total offense. They had 99 yards rushing, and they were 4 for 15 on 3rd down today. That's how crazy that game was today out of Foxborough. But the Patriots get the win, and they're trying to solidify themselves in a battle for the hotly contested AFC East. Is it hotly contested? Absolutely. And I'll tell you right now, this was a game that had everything. From craziness to low scoring to defensive superiority that everybody would understand. What a game it was out of Foxborough. A big win. Marcus Jones, I hope you get the key to the city out of Foxborough, man, because you earned it on this Sunday. A big win for the Patriots. And they're still in line they're still trying to get themselves in the hunt for a playoff spurt. We'll wait and see what happens. We got a long way to go. We got Thanksgiving week mania coming up. All right, next up, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Indianapolis Colts. The Eagles had to come from behind to beat the Colts today, 17-16. Jalen Hurts from Alabama, 18 to 26, 199 yards and a touchdown. He even had 16 carries for 86 yards and ran one in himself. Quez Watkins, 2 catches, 31 yards and a touchdown. Milton Williams, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss in this game, in the ball game today. As for the Indianapolis Colts, Matt Ryan, 23 of 32, 213 yards. That was it for him. Jonathan Taylor, 22 carries, 84 yards and a touchdown. He had the lone touchdown for the Colts in the first quarter. Yannick Nagov, 1.5 sacks today. The Colts cannot seem to seal the deal. They had a touchdown in the first quarter, then they had 3 field goals right after that, and that was it. I mean, for Indianapolis, 14 first downs, 284 yards total offense for the game, 8 penalties for 90 yards. They couldn't get the job done. They were 5 for 15 on third down. It's frustrating as a Colts fan. All Colts fans are frustrated with this. The Colts cannot seem to seal the deal. They led for most of the game. Then all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts, out of nowhere in the final moments, hits a big pass for the win. That is how crazy this game was today. The Colts are struggling in the AFC South. The South is a joke with the exception of the Tennessee Titans. But the Eagles are the better team. They did a great job. A great come-from-behind victory going into Thanksgiving week. They will play the Packers next Sunday night. We'll see what happens then. And that's just all there is to it. Hats off to the Eagles for getting the job done. Now, let's talk about the playoff picture. That's what everybody wants to know. As it stands right now, in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs would own the top spot in the AFC. They're the 1 seed. The 2, 3, and 4 now the Chiefs are 8-2. The 2, 3, 4, and 5 seeds are 7-3. The Miami Dolphins, they had a bye week this week. They're 7-3. They would own the number 2 seed. The Tennessee Titans, the only team above 500 in the AFC South, they're 7-3. The Baltimore Ravens, they're leading the AFC North. They're 7-3. The Buffalo Bills, despite having to play the Cleveland Browns in Detroit, they're 7-3 after a big victory today. And Josh Allen is a great player. And I'll tell you what, my hat's off to the Bills Mafia for actually digging their players out of that 6 feet of snow. The 6th seed, as it stands right now, would go to the New England Patriots after that 10-3 victory today. And the Cincinnati Bengals will be clinging to the number 7 seed as it stands right now. They're trying to catch the Baltimore Ravens in the hotly contested AFC North. In the hunt as it stands right now, the New York Jets, a 10-3 loss, took them out of the playoff picture. They're still in the hunt though. The LA Chargers at 5-5. They suffered a bad loss tonight to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're suffering a setback. And the Indianapolis Colts at 4-6-1. They could still get in, but they're going to need a lot of help. Now, on the NFC side of the play, on the NFC side, the Philadelphia Eagles, the hottest team in the league, in the NFL right now, 9-1. They got the 1 seed. The Minnesota Vikings, they got humiliated today by the Dallas Cowboys, 40-3. They're 8-2 right now. A huge setback for them. We'll be seeing the Vikings on Thursday night, part of the Thanksgiving matinee. They're 8-2. The Seattle Seahawks at 6-4. They had a bye week this week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 5-5. They own the 4 seed because they lead the NFC South. The Dallas Cowboys, they just humiliated the Minnesota Vikings earlier today. They're 7-3. And the New York Giants, we'll be seeing the Giants on Thursday. They're at 7-3. They have the 6th seed. And the San Francisco 49ers have a 7th spot and the final spot in the playoffs at 5-4. But in the hunt right now, and believe it or not, I'm saying this, the Washington Commanders are 6-5. They could still get into the playoffs, believe it or not. The Atlanta Falcons, I'm sorry, I messed up on that. The Atlanta Falcons are 5-6. If they can get a couple of good wins, they could jump over the Buccaneers in the AFC South, and they could be on the and they can get in. And the Detroit Lions at 4-6, they could still get into the playoffs, believe it or not. Now, that is your playoff picture in the NFL. And that is the NFL talk for this week. But what a week we had in the NFL on this Sunday. But on Saturday, we had 2 games in the Pac-12 in college football that had everybody talking. There we go. Now, number 7 USC beat number 16 UCLA 48-45 in a high-scoring shootout. I said it on Friday during the pregame show. I said this game would have everything. High scoring, and it lived up to it. Caleb Williams, 32 of 43, 470 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He also carried the ball 8 times for 33 yards and had a touchdown of his own. Austin Jones, 21 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Jordan Addison, what a way he stepped up. 11 catches, 178 yards, and a touchdown. He stepped in for the injured Travis Dye. Think about that. And Tyrone Talini, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss in the ball game. But on the other side of the ball, it's disappointment for UCLA. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 23 of 38, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He also carried the ball 14 times for 81 yards, and he ran for 2 scores. Casimir Allen, 5 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Michael Eckney, 4 catches, 44 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Latu, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss in this game. It's very simple, folks. USC will be in the Pac-12 championship on December 2nd. A big victory for Southern Cal. We know USC will be in the Pac-12 championship game. But something else has also developed. Caleb Williams may have punched his ticket to New York for the Heisman Trophy. He's become one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy. Think about this. 3,480 yards passing this season, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got a QBR rating of 167.6. He's only 21 yards shy of having 3,500 yards passing for the season. And with Tennessee's Hendon Hooker now injured, he won't be back. You got to believe that Caleb Williams has emerged as one of the favorites next to C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. Should Caleb Williams get a chance to go to New York? Should he have a shot of having a chance at the Heisman Trophy? I say yes. He's earned it. But I'll tell you what. Caleb Williams has emerged as one of the favorites and has emerged as a front runner for the Heisman Trophy. USC has punched their ticket. Now, who will they face? That is still yet to be determined. And here's what I mean. Number 20 Oregon beat number 12 Oregon beat number 10 Utah 20-17 in a late Saturday night out in Eugene. Bo Nix, 25 of 37, 287 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Bucky Irving, 53 yards total offense, and he had a touchdown of his own. And Dante Thornton, 4 catches, 151 yards. And Noah Sewell, he only had 2 tackles for loss and no sacks. But those 2 tackles for loss were huge. For Utah, Cameron Rising, 21 of 38, 170 yards. He got picked off 3 times. Jalen Dixon, 35 yards of offense, and he had a touchdown. Simonte Pipa, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss in this game. Kareem Reed had an 11-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. He had a scoop and score in this game. If you look at everything, Oregon had 3 turnovers. So did Utah. Oregon only had 16 first downs, 346 yards total offense. I mean, they only had 59 yards rushing as a team. But the three interceptions by Cameron Rising is what cost Utah big time in this 20-17 victory. In this 20-17 loss, I mean. Now, it gets very simple. If Oregon beats Oregon State, they're in the Pac-12 championship. If Washington wins and Oregon loses, Washington will be in the Pac-12 championship game. So USC is going to have to look at everything. They're going to have to watch a bunch of games this coming weekend, like I'm going to be. But a huge win for the Oregon Ducks. Oregon's victory over Utah could give them a big leg up and put them in the Pac-12 championship game. But we're still going to have to wait and see what happens. And that's the truth of the matter on this night. Okay, let's move on to college basketball. We had a 1-2 in NCAA women's college basketball on this Sunday. Number 1 South Carolina beat number 2 Stanford 76-71 in overtime. Alea Boston, what a way she stepped up. 14 points, 13 rebounds, her 63rd career double-double. And she also had 2 assists in the game. Saya Cook, 13 points, 4 assists in this game. And Bree Hall, 12 points, 2 big rebounds in this game. But for Stanford, Cameron Brink, 25 points, 4 rebounds, 4 blocked shots. Kiki Ifrin, 11 points, 7 huge rebounds in this game. And Haley Jones, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and almost double-double. It was a Stanford timeout, an inadvertent timeout mistake that cost Stanford any chance of winning this game. Right after the ESPN play-by-play announcers had said, Stanford's out of timeouts, someone called timeout on the court. That is a turnover, and if my memory serves me, now that's also a technical foul. Stanford called a timeout when they didn't have any. But keep in mind, too, Stanford, 22 turnovers in this game. And South Carolina outscored Stanford's bench 34-9. That is why South Carolina won this ball game. Alea Boston, your double-double got the job done. My hat's off to you, home girl. You earned it. Now I'll tell you what a great game. And I actually watched most of this game today, too. Because the NFL games were actually getting boring in the early days. The early games were actually boring, so I turned this on for a while. And I actually enjoyed it. South Carolina, my hats go off to you. Stanford, you can't beat a number 1 team when you're a number 2. That's just all there is to it. All right. Let's move on. Now, this is the NCAA men's basketball on this day. Number 16 Virginia beat number 19 Illinois, 70-61 today. Reese Beekman, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals on this day. A great performance for him. Kahie Clark, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Give him some love. And Jaden Gardner, 12 points, 5 rebounds. As for Illinois, Jaden Epps, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. And Coleman Hawkins, 10 points, 3 assists, 3 blocks. I've been thinking about, I looked at the starting 5 for both teams today. Virginia took that, outscored Illinois starting 5, 57-39. Just some food for thought on that day. This was a great win for Virginia. A great victory. They won the main event classic. Normally, Virginia would be all up and happy and ready to head back to Charlottesville to celebrate. But head coach Tony Bennett has said, our hearts are with the families of those 3 football players that were killed. I have not forgot about that. There were 3 football players at the University of Virginia that were murdered. My condolences go out to their families at this time. This was a great win for Virginia. Could this be the start of a healing process? Could this be the start of something special? I personally, myself, I hope it is. I really do. Because if you stop to think about what the University of Virginia has been through in about the last 7 to 10 days, in the last few days, it's been sad. I think the Virginia players are in a hurry to get back to Charlottesville and be ready to be with their fellow students. My prayers go out to those 3 football players that were murdered. My condolences to their families at this time. I want to take a moment. And let's take a moment of silence real quick. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for doing that. And my prayers go out to their families. All right. I don't want to, but we got to move on. In the consolation game of the main event classic, number 5 Baylor beat number 8 UCLA 80-75 today. For Baylor, LJ Cryer, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. Adam Flagler, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. As for UCLA, Jalen Clark, 23 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. And Jamie Chesquez Jr., 15 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists on this day. And Tiger Campbell, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. The Baylor Bears are now 6-2 in the city of Las Vegas. UCLA has lost 3 in a row in Vegas. And Baylor has won 10 of their last 11 games against the Pac-12. Everybody in the Pac-12 is going to hate Baylor. And that's all there is to it. A great win today for the Baylor Bears as they recover from their loss to Virginia on Friday night. A great victory for Baylor over UCLA in the consolation game of the main event classic. And it was a great weekend in college sports. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before I go, I'm going to be making a couple of announcements. This coming Friday, there will be no Friday YouTube Sports Machine show. There will be no show on Friday, and I've decided there will be no show on Saturday. Yes, I'll be doing little snippets on Facebook, so stay tuned for that. I'll be doing little snippet messages probably on Saturday after the Ohio State-Michigan game. That's going to be a big one. And I might do a Facebook special. I haven't decided yet. But I'll tell you what. We got a great game coming up. We have a great weekend coming up in the sports world, especially on Thursday. NFL action. We have rivalry weekend on this coming weekend in college football. And there's a lot at stake. So I'll be doing Facebook messages all over Facebook this weekend. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in every single week. I'm taking the Thanksgiving holiday weekend off so I can hit the reset button and do it all over again. So with that in mind, this is Scott Manning coming to you for the Scott Manning YouTube Sports Sunday YouTube Sports Machine. I'll be back the following weekend. I'm taking the weekend off for Thanksgiving. I just want to wish all of you guys a happy Thanksgiving and God bless. And enjoy your time with your families. Until then, this is Scott Manny saying good night, good luck, and thank you. And I thank you and good night. Good night, everybody, and have a happy Thanksgiving.